Welcome to T. Lokes, Tucson's local business podcast. I'm your host, L. Connor McEverly, and in each episode, we embark on a journey to connect with the passionate minds behind the businesses and nonprofits that make our community thrive. Join me as I sit down with the owners, visionaries, and change makers who pour their hearts into shaping the local landscape. We explore the challenges, triumphs, and unique journeys that define Tucson's business community. From the corner coffee shop to the innovative startups and impactful nonprofits, T. Lokes is your window into the diverse stories that make our city special. Tune in and get ready to get connected. This is T. Lokes. Howdy, folks, and welcome to T. Lokes, your Tucson local business podcast. I'm your host, L. Connor McEverly, and joining me via virtual chat today is the founder and owner of Words LLC and Blank Page Consulting, which offers services like editing, copywriting, coaching for writers and professionals, and much, much more. It is my pleasure to introduce to the show today, Kim Green. Kim, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me, Connor.
Of course.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time. So, let's jump right in.
Okay.
What inspired you to establish Blank Page Consulting, and how does it reflect your passion for helping others find their voice through writing?
Well, I came up with Blank Page because I love, I'm a writer. I've been writing for years and years and years and years. And I've done some ghostwriting, some celebrity ghostwriting and stuff like that. And I realized that I didn't really love it. It's just when you're working with celebrities, they're just really hard to work with. And so but I love writing and I love writers.
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be wonderful to use my coaching abilities to work with writers and help them get their words out. And so that's how Blank Page came up. That's how the name especially came up, because I feel like everything in life is a blank page. You're starting from scratch. And especially for writers, it's the scariest place, the blank page, because it's like, I got to fill it. And so I just loved the name, and that's how it came about.
Yeah, totally. It's a great name. Like, I feel like I can see where as a writer, it can also be like that kind of intimidating, like you need to start this journey of 1,000 steps. But I can also see a blank page is just like, it's a canvas. It's an opportunity.
It's possibility. Yeah, it's possibility. It's great.
So I love that. That's a great name. So this is a pretty broad question. I know I touched on some of your services in my intro, but could you talk to me more about the scope of your services and who they're perfect for?
Well, I think what's fun about my services is it seems like a long list. It's like 1,000 things, but it's all based on the same thing, which is self-expression. Nice. So that is sort of the baseline of what I do, help people with their self-expression. So if you're writing a book, I'm there. I can help you get the book done. If you are stuck somewhere in your life and you kind of can't figure out what to do next, or I hate my job, and I hate my partner, I hate what's going on, and I don't know how to get out of it, I do life coaching, which is using therapeutic writing, again, to help people kind of articulate what's going on, what their needs are, their emotional needs. Yeah. And then we work that way using what they've written. So it's not like a literary exercise at all. So no one's looking at what they wrote. It could be a list, right? It doesn't matter, but it's just a way to get them to think and hone in on what they're going through. And then I think in terms of like the retreat, so I do the writer's retreat.
Yeah.
But that is also therapeutic writing, helping women find their voice. So it's all based on the exact same thing, self-expression, and then just doing it in different ways.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. And, like looking at your websites, like you help, pretty much like everyone through that self-expression, and as you've mentioned, like writing and words have the power to change lives.
Absolutely.
And your services like reflect this on a scale, right? Because you help individuals in their pursuits and truth finding, aspiring entrepreneurs looking to solidify their messaging. So like working off of that, can you tell me in your words, why and how finding the right words can be so impactful in these situations?
Well, let's just say the wrong words can really ruin a day, right?
Yeah. No
And
doubt.
it has to do with, delivery. And I think, that's sort of going back to my services. It's going back to editing, for example. So when people
Right.
come with me with a 600-page manuscript,
Right.
what are we really trying to say? So my help with the self-expression is really honing in on the message, editing out the things that we don't need so that the message is clearer. And so I think that is sort of the basis of everything that I'm doing. And the right words, first of all, it takes so much nuance. Communication is all about nuance.
Seriously.
It's how do you say it? Connor, get over here right now.
Yeah.
And Connor, would you like to come over today? Very different. So
Definitely.
It's the nuance, it's the tone. And so I think with writing, that's so fun to me to find what you're trying to say and how you're saying it. And that is a really important part of just working with writers, because they write, people have feelings and they're able to write what they feel.
Right.
But for example, I'm just editing a book with somebody right now, and she's sort of she sort of has a very apologetic personality. She's just apologizing for everything. But the book is about her finding her voice. So when I'm editing the piece, the places that she's continually unnecessarily apologizing, I take that out, because I'm trying to make the voice get stronger through the book, not weaker. We can't keep going back to the apologies. Right. So it's just a little bit of tonal. It's a lot about tone and nuance.
Yeah.
And then, of course, vocabulary, the words that you use.
Right.
Words command a lot of attention.
Yeah, they certainly do.
Yeah.
And, it makes me think a little bit about I go to therapy, I talk about things that I'm going through, or how I feel about myself, and it's true where it's you hit the nail on the head, the right words and the wrong words can change everything. Right.
Correct.
And I may have, perhaps a negative view about myself on one aspect, but just a small shift in words, being this is something I'm working on, rather than this is something I'm bad at.
Right, exactly, correct. Yes.
Something like that.
Right, absolutely.
And I guess, I'm also kind of curious, and this is maybe shifting gears a little bit. So when you help writers, is there a particular genre that you feel like you excel in? Do you help fiction writers? Do you help fantasy writers? Is it mostly, personal stuff and memoirs, or?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think, I feel like words are words. Yeah. And I can, see the strength in your words. I can see where grammatically it's not making sense, or plot wise it's not making sense. But I think my strength is memoir, because I love people. That's a real moment of self-expression. That's the moment. Right. And so I think that's kind of my favorite. But I also work with people who do fiction. I love fiction. Yeah. And I think that's a strong point of mine. I just love fiction. And when I was in college, that was my thing. I was doing straight short stories. And I was working with a very famous fiction author, nice. Douglas Unger, who was a Pulitzer Prize nominee. He was my professor.
Wow.
So I really love fiction.
Yeah.
Love it. But I think memoir is something that you have a lot of that here in Arizona, especially because it's more mature people who've done some extraordinary things.
Right.
And people who have owned businesses and started businesses and moved across country and lived all over the world, all kinds of incredible adventures. Totally. And at this age, they're ready to reflect and talk about it and write about it. And that's where I come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that makes a lot of sense, definitely, with helping people with self-expression and some of your life coaching as well. I can definitely see how that kind of coincides with memoir writers and people who are, being self-reflective.
Howdy, listener. This is Connor. Thank you so much for listening to our episode today. If you find these interviews enriching, one of the easiest ways you can help this show is to leave a rating and a review. If you go into your podcast player, for Apple Podcasts, if you scroll beneath all of the episodes, you'll find a spot where you can rate and review. If you just click that and add a review, that helps others find these impactful episodes and hear the valuable insights of the people who are the heartbeat of the Tucson community. So if you have a moment, please do that. It really helps the show. It really helps me out. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for your support. Toodaloo. I guess this is another kind of tangential question, but I'm curious, like, have you found interesting moments of self-reflection in a fiction writer's writing?
Well, first of all, my own. So my own novels have been very much based on me. And I think everybody who sets down to write, it's funny when people sit down to write a memoir. Yeah. And then I just had a client last year who we were doing the memoir, and then she was just like, you know what? I want to do fiction. Yeah. So we were really doing the same story. We changed characters' names, we changed locations, but it was the same story, but it makes people feel safer. So that's why I say, okay, let's make it fiction. But it's all the same. I mean, when people are writing, they're writing from their experience, what they've observed, what they felt. And that all comes from you and your own experiences. So I think that even the characters, you can write about, Sally, but it could be your old best friend, that you were reflecting her and what that personality was for you. So totally. I think it's a slippery slope between memoir and fiction.
I could totally see that. That makes sense. Like a lot of perspective a lot of the author's perspective comes through in their writing, kind of regardless of what they write.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking to me about that tangent. I was just curious. I work a lot in the realm of fiction, and I love fiction and sci-fi and fantasy. So I'm a big, big fiction fan.
Right.
But you have mentioned too that you have a writing workshop, a retreat. It is the You Have the Right to Heal retreat.
Yes.
Which, first of all, great name, great use of words. And, this retreat focuses on using writing as a tool for healing.
Sure.
And so what motivated you to create this program, and what transformations have you witnessed amongst participants?
Well, I will tell you that what came up for me in terms of creating this retreat, I've been thinking about it for many, many years, and it just sort of came to fruition last year. But I just kind of sense that I'm very woman-centric. Like I really am interested in women and their journeys. And I just know that there's so many unhappy women.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling to me how unhappy women are. They're unhappy with their weight. They're unhappy with their spouse. They're unhappy with their jobs. Right. And it's not their fault. It's just because we have a society that really pushes the pressure button all the time for women. You have to look a certain way. You have to be thin. You have to be that. You have to be it's just so much. Totally. And I think it's hard to put all that together, especially when you're trying to have a family or trying to also have a career, and your presentation at work is so important. And it just becomes in the news. You have a lot of women who are winos, the drinkers, it's just a lot of stress and pressure. So I just have always been aware of that when I see women sort of having meltdowns in the street. I'm from New York City, so that's a normal thing, a woman having a meltdown on the street. And so I just have always thought about that. I wonder, if you could just sit down with that woman who's having a meltdown and sort of talk about what's going on, what is really going on. And let's be honest, I think there's a big honesty problem with women because we were taught to be kind and friendly and nice. Nice is a toxic word, but a lot of people are nice. Yeah. And the niceness, those women are the most miserable, right? So we just have to undo some of that and get to the truth so that people feel empowered to be their best selves. I want everybody to be their best selves.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that with the societal pressures for women. I mean, look, I'm a man. I will never fully grasp a woman's experience, but I can at least see and I can recognize that there are so many different societal pressures and a need to show up as
as a perfect model in whatever role that is, be it like the CEO, the mom, the wife, and the individual. And I think there's so many times where, people, women get caught up in trying to be the ideal of all these roles.
Right.
That perhaps they think of themselves as these roles and don't take the time to think of who they are and how they feel, rather just trying to fit these molds all the time and leaving, some of their needs, thoughts, fears to the wayside.
Correct. Yep.
So I guess, kind of expounding from that, like, why do you think writing in particular is so helpful for people's reflection?
Well, it's because it allows you to articulate what you're feeling. So feelings are sort of amorphous. They're just sort of inside you and they make you feel, maybe you feel blue, maybe you feel sad, but you don't really know exactly what's making you feel sad. You just know that you feel sad.
Yeah.
But when you're writing it out, when you're really facing, okay, here I am, just me and this piece of paper, and I'm just thinking about how I feel, you might say, well, I'm also a little annoyed what happened yesterday, with my boss or whatever. Right. So those are the things that start to like hone in. We get to get a little clearer about what's going on with you. Yeah. And of course, there's the big things too, like traumatic things that have happened. Yeah. And we also work as human beings, we work very hard to compartmentalize those things so they don't get in the way. But what they really do, they stop us. They stop us from going forward because we're not healed from those things yet. So it's like, I had a client who lost their father in a fire, the house burned down and the father died in there, so that's a trauma, but it's hard to talk about. It's hard to think about. Yeah. But then we started working on a book with her. And we talked about it so much. We had memories of the father. We had all these wonderful things that then we could sort of see the situation a little bit better than just the fire. He died. It's terrible. I can't even think about it. But when we talk about it, we start to think about these wonderful memories she had with him. And, it just makes it more holistic. So I think writing helps you see all the angles instead of just the one angle, which is I feel bad.
Yeah.
Or I'm mad or I'm sad or just some general thing, instead of really figuring out how you feel in general, holistically about the situation.
Totally. Yeah, I can see that. And that's interesting. That's really interesting. I do a lot of stuff in the audio space. And so I do audio journaling, right? Where I speak into my microphone about things. And it's twofold. Why I think writing may be perhaps a little bit better than just audio journaling is listening to audio journal, listening to your audio journal takes more time.
Right.
But I also think in terms of expressing yourself and your thoughts, there is something that feels more full body about writing,
Because there are things that you can be feeling that you are even if it's you in your little box, you are too embarrassed to say. Words that you just can't really say. I can't really say it. I think on paper, you have freedom. There's a lot of freedom in paper. And because you, first of all, can write as much as you want. Yeah. It never ends. And there's no time limit on it. Right. And also, you can also cross out things that are not, and it's the physical act of crossing it out. Yeah. Is really powerful, and it really allows you to see the see the word that maybe is incorrect. Yeah. And then toss that out and say, you might say, I was feeling a little sad about Sally. And then you can look at sad and be like, no, not sad. I mean, mad. Yeah. It's the power of just being able to have your emotions in your own hands. You can take them and work with them.
Totally. And that physical aspect too, right? You're moving your muscles to convey these thoughts in a different way than speech, yes. I started audio journaling because my mind goes so fast and my hand can't keep up. Yeah. But I think you really hit the nail on the head where it's there are things that I'll think about that sometimes, even again, in my own booth, I can't bring myself to say. Yeah. And I think that was a very poignant phrase, definitely got me thinking right then and there about,
of that sort of freedom of expression with paper and getting to those things that are hard to say.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So coming back to the Right to Heal retreat, how often do you put these retreats on?
Well, we do it. Hopefully this is our second one. We did it last year, and hopefully it's just an annual thing. And I want it to be something that is a Tucson thing. Like I want people to come to Tucson.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a beautiful place. I think it's a healing place. Yeah. I think it's a sort of an exotic place for people from the East. Definitely. Who've never been to the desert. I mean, the desert is just such a mystical thing.
Yeah.
But I also, so that's the answer. We do it once a year, but it depends on, I actually have had somebody in Santa Fe, New Mexico, ask me to come do it there. I've had somebody in New York ask me to come do it there.
Yeah.
So we just have to see how it goes. I mean, every day it's just like we're building up this big emotional day, these 5 days that are going to change people's lives. And it does. Yeah. And you actually asked me what transformations I've seen from it. First of all, my favorite story, and she's so sick of me saying it, but there's a woman who came last year and she was very nervous and very scared and very traumatized because she had lost somebody, her partner, who died 8 years ago. Yeah. And she'd been in sort of a slump since then, not socializing, just feeling sad and sorry and staying home and all of this.
Yeah.
And so she signed up for the retreat. She came. And then the day that she got there, she was like, oh, I shouldn't have come here. I don't like people. I'm not good with crowds. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what to do. So she was like shaking physically, like catatonic in the corner.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, here we go. So she and I talked a lot and I said, what's going on? And fast forward 5 days, she is a ray of sunshine now. She is a socialite. All the women, there was a lot of women there from Tucson. She socializes with them. She's very good friends. She does things with people all the time. She's hiking and having a great time and kind of regained her life. Yeah. From this grieving period that was so long.
Yeah.
And so I think the transformation comes from, just to be really specific, it comes from community, first of all. Yeah. So she came there at her weakest moment. Yeah. So she was not looking pretty. She was not smiling. She was not joyful. She was like afraid and petrified.
Yeah.
And all the women kind of embraced her. Like, we see you. We see what condition you're in. And we got you. We got you. Yeah. And so everybody was so loving to her and so kind to her. Mm-hmm. And so she was able to speak about what was going on for her. So she didn't have to mask it. Right. Like, well, it's just a rough day.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who I am anymore without my partner. All of these are really real things. Yeah. And so with the questioning, so that's my role in the whole thing. I do inquiry and questioning. So we do a lot of writing based on these prompts, these questions that I ask people to reflect on in their lives. And then we come out and we then discuss it. We share it. We talk to each other because we all have sort of asked the same question, but it's coming from all different angles because everybody has a different answer to the question.
Totally.
So I think with all of this community and the activities that we do, like we have, breath work and massage and yoga and meditation and equine therapy.
Nice.
And this year we're having like African drumming, a drumming session. Sweet. All of these things open you up.
Yeah.
So that you're able to kind of be in tune with what you're feeling. So masks are not allowed, right?
Yeah.
So people have to come their authentic self, and people are able to leave with some action items.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to fix this situation? Whether it's my grief or whether it's my job or whether it's my spouse, whatever I have to do to get to the next level, we unearth all of those things and get going. That's sort of what happens in the 5 days.
Wow. Well, it sounds like this retreat has a really transformative.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a transformative experience.
Yes.
Hey, Tucson friends. Are you or someone you know a local Tucson business owner who's looking to expand their visibility, grow their brand, and engage more with their community? Well, I want to talk to you. Don't just be a listener. Come on the show and interview. Showcase your business. Tell us all about your story. Tell about the highs, the lows, and how you serve the Tucson community. We would love to hear what you have to say and hear the intricacies of your business. Humanize your brand, position yourself as a thought leader, and get in front of more eyes and ears. Click the link below and star on an episode. I look forward to talking with you. Now back to the show. And so you mentioned it's about 5 days long. You mentioned you also have, like the breath work, the massage. Can you like briefly go over like an itinerary for like one of the listeners who's really interested in joining this retreat? Like what could they kind of expect over this 5 days?
So over the 5 days, we do a lot of eating. We have a chef.
Perfect.
And she serves us these beautiful, very healthy, delicious, yummy meals.
Great.
And so we have, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but we also have daily yoga. So every single morning there's yoga. You don't have to go. It's not mandatory. You just can go, but everybody was very happy with the yoga and meditation. Yeah. And then the first day we do breath work. Because breath work is the first step where you start to like open up. It's a very emotional. It brings a lot of emotions to the forefront. Yeah. And then we also have a sound healing. So we have a sound bath and we have like sound healing is a very amazing, interesting thing. Yeah. So we do that. And then that first evening, we just have a reception, but we do those things the first night. And then after that, we have a day where we're having, there's always an activity. So we always start with the yoga. Then we have writing, Write to Heal. Right. So this is when we do this lead writing and everybody gets a journal, brand new journal to work on. And they carry it with us everywhere we go so that they always can talk about what they're feeling based on what's going on. Right. And then there's, then I have all these fabulous facilitators. So I have, the yoga people, the yoga teacher. We also have the breathwork person. And then we have an art therapy session. So we have an artist coming in, and she's going to do a beautiful art therapy exercise about the heart. Nice. And they're going to paint hearts and kind of talk about what kind of heart they have. Is it a broken heart? Is it a full heart? Is it a rageful heart? So we're going to really do a lot of work on that. Yeah. And then we have, the drumming session. Yeah. We have equine therapy. We have an excellent equine therapist who's going to do a fantastic job. We're going to do a labyrinth walk that I'm going to lead, like a walking meditation on one word. Nice. One word. So it's just it's all kinds of things going on, but it's all based on the community. So you're doing it with women. Yeah. We're talking about it. We're feeling it. We're having all kinds of, some people are going in there and having no idea that they're going to have any emotional reaction. Right. And they fall apart there. They literally fall apart. And everybody, what is so beautiful to me is watching these women who, 2 days ago didn't know each other. Yeah. And now they're holding each other, holding each other mentally, physically, emotionally. It's just it's a beautiful experience. It's bigger than me. It was an idea that I had. And then like, what happened when you put it in the hands of other people, it becomes something bigger than me, so it's really about the experience. It's not really about me. It's just because I know the power of writing. That's the only gift I bring, the power of writing, because in my own life, I've had to use it to get through some terrible things. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, wow. That sounds like an amazing retreat. Seriously. And that's such an, I feel like I use the word profound too much, but it sounds profound.
It is.
Yeah. It sounds like a really great experience for people where they can get really present and big things up. So I think that's fantastic. When is the next retreat?
It's October 16th to the 20th.
Great.
And it's here in Tucson and the Tanque Verde Valley, where we're going to do it on a 12-acre ranch, a beautiful ranch called the Woodland Water Tower Ranch.
Okay.
And there's all different rooms and casitas, and they all have ensuite bathrooms, and it's all, very nice.
Yeah.
And beautiful cooking. Beautiful chef was coming. She did a beautiful job last year. We just have, and it's a bit of a family. We have a house mother who's there so she's going to stay there. I live just right around the corner from it. Ironically, that was not planned. But there's a woman who's on staff all times that will be there if anybody has any emotional problems, wants to talk, just a friend to talk to. Or we got you. I mean, every piece of it we've got you.
Wow. That's really lovely. It sounds like you really take great care of the folks who come to your retreat. And
we take very good care of them.
And October is a beautiful time of year here. It's like when most of the heat of the summer is kind of burnt off and there's still that pleasant warmth in the evenings and stuff. And the Tanque Verde Valley is beautiful. So just great choices all around. Sounds like a really great experience.
It's great. Share it with every woman you know. Please.
Fantastic. I will.
Yes.
So I want to shift gears a little bit, ask you a couple more personal questions about your writing experience. So I read that your career in writing began in the music industry, doing copywriting for iconic artists like Public Enemy and Sade. How did this experience shape your transition into becoming a writing and life coach?
So first of all, Sade. It's not Sade, it's Sade.
Sade. Well, it shows that I have never heard or listened to Sade.
Well, and that is a big piece of your life that you're missing. If you don't know about Sade, you've got to promise you'll look it up and listen to one song and you'll be hooked.
I am opening a tab right now.
You have got to get into Sade. It's the most beautiful music ever. And you're married, right?
Yes.
So you must know Sade. Like that's the key to your marriage. Like it's right there. You didn't even know it. You didn't know that there was a key that was missing at Sade.
Well, thank you so much for the resource.
Exactly. That's right. And so how did all that happen? Well, when I was working at Sony and I was doing copywriting, which is one of my other true loves, writing advertising and marketing copy. But anyway, I worked there and I was also a music journalist on the side. So my side hustle was writing for magazines, music magazines, and interviewing folks and doing all that. And then I got the opportunity to write Fantasia Barrino's book.
Okay.
And so I wrote that book and it was a New York Times bestseller. It was made into a Lifetime movie. It was like a big thing. Yeah. So that happened. And then I got another ghostwriting job with a celebrity. That was a horrible experience. And so I just realized that it's really hard to work with people who are famous. First of all, it's just very hard. They're not grounded. They're too busy. They're overwhelmed. It's just that is not a great client. Right. But I also just loved the writing. I love writing and I love writers, as I said. And so I was thinking of life coaching as just a way to add to my abilities as a writing coach, because I know that I can ask questions, and coaching is all about the right questions and getting to the point. So I got credentialed as a life coach. And then when you get credentialed as a life coach, they ask you to specialize. So you can be a Christian life coach, you can be, whatever. So a friend of mine, who's a famous author, who's a good friend of mine. She and I worked at Sony together.
Nice.
She was like, you should be a writing coach. And I was like, oh, and it's stupid. I never even really thought of it as my specialty. Right. But of course it is. Of course it is. So I was like, you're right. That's exactly what I should do. And I just started right away. And it was so amazing because I kind of thought, how am I going to get clients? Like, what am I even, what am I doing? But the minute I put it out there, people need this help. They need, especially who want to write and they're afraid to write. It's too hard. And it's also hard to keep accountable. Yeah. So coaching is all about accountability, right? So you have to show up. You have to show up. You have to deliver every week. You have to have a chapter for me every week. So there's a lot of structure in it, even though it's a very emotional, personal, intimate relationship.
Yeah.
I'm also making sure we're still on track.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that makes me think, I'm sorry, my brain just shot over to an interview I had with an author. His name's Desmond Astaire. He's a creative writer. He's a fiction writer, but he definitely talks about structure being one of the keys to like his success in writing. And I can so see where like in these creative spaces, having that structure and accountability is really important.
Exactly right.
And can really help you develop more. Because as a creative, it's easy to just, be like, it's creative. It doesn't need structure. It
exactly
can
right.
flow this way and that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think, if you're trying to do the work and get things done, like you need a little structure and a little
you absolutely need structure. And not only that, I mean, everybody who's loosey-goosey and says, I'm creative and I'm cool and I just want to flow, they never have a book. They never have a book. And people who say, I'm ready, let's do it. How many months is it? What's the cost? Let's go.
Yeah.
They walk away and they have a book.
Yeah.
So it's so simple. It's a very simple equation. You either put in the work, you get the structure, you figure out somebody who's going to be accountable for you. I mean, I'm definitely that person who texts you during the week. How's those chapters going?
Yeah.
I'm into it. I'm very involved with every client I have.
Yeah.
And so I think that makes really warm space to make mistakes, creative mistakes, but also to learn and to be with somebody who really loves this work. This is not a job for me. I love helping people tell their stories, and to perfect their work.
Yeah.
It's really important to me. So I think people find that in me, that I'm really authentic about my love for what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a blessing to do something that you love so much, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So shifting gears slightly, you're an author, coach, an editor, entrepreneur. How do you balance all these roles, and what strategies do you use to maintain creativity across these different domains?
Wow. Well, I think, like I said earlier, they're all the same to me, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm coaching or I'm working on your edit, or, it's all the same, just making sure people are saying what they need to say.
Right.
And saying it in the right way. So that's sort of my basic foundational belief of what I'm working on. So I don't feel overwhelmed most of the time.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like the retreat, which is a lot of preparing for the big, exciting self-expression, but it's a lot of, details.
Totally.
That kind of freaks me out sometimes. But last year, because I did such a, I would say a pretty decent job of getting an infrastructure for it.
Yeah.
So there's language and letters and communications that have already been done. Yeah. So I just recycled them. So I have ways of just using the language and how I can use it all different ways.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But the thing that keeps me creative is just that every single day is a different adventure in this world we're living in right now. I mean, every day there's some crazy thing that's you're scratching your head at all moments. But I just I'm a curious person. So my curiosity makes me learn a lot of stuff that most people don't know or care about. And I'm interested in all things.
Yeah.
So I really, I think my interest in all things keeps me creative and keeps me inspired.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, curiosity it's an understated tool for learning. Seriously, it's just wanting to learn and being interested and asking questions is huge.
Yes, right.
So I guess I have two questions, two different ones. I guess we'll do this one at a time though.
Okay, great.
So you briefly mentioned like how, maybe celebrities are a difficult person to work with because maybe they're not exactly grounded, or maybe they're too busy. And I guess like that makes me wonder if, just moving like beyond celebrities, if there are maybe one or two
sort of characteristics or maybe mindsets that people should embrace when starting to write about these things?
I think that's great. That's a great question. I think one of the main things is that they have to be ready. Yeah. So people say to me, I'm thinking about writing a book. Yeah, I really have a terrible story. I want to tell it. Yeah. But all of that is not the same as readiness. And readiness is when you're open. You're open to feedback. Yeah. You're open to learning new things. You're open to doing a little bit of homework, which means, yes, we have physical, tangible homework, but it's really about learning what the arc of the story is. Why do you create the arc of the story? How do you do that? How do you do that effectively? Yeah. How do you look at pacing when you've talked about something too long and you need to pull back a little? Yeah. Too much redundancy. All of these detailed things about writing is very important, but you have to be ready for all of it. Yeah. Whether you're going to cry sometimes when you write. Yeah. Sometimes you're going to struggle with getting the chapter done because you can't figure out what to say or how to say it, or, right. So there's all this readiness is a big part of it. And I think the other part of it is really having something important that they have to say that you need to say. Yeah. So it's not, I am going to change the world or stop the war in 24 hours. Not that, but it's kind of like, I have a feeling about humanity or people or women or men, and I have something that I want to say about it. Yeah. And then we're able to work on how to say it in a way that's going to be convincing and powerful for other people and transformative. We want somebody to read it and say, oh, I never thought of it that way. So, that's kind of what the goal is. And so people who are ready and people who have something to say is a perfect client for me.
Perfect. Yeah. Really well said. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess my next question is, because I know you're based here in Tucson, but what is the range of your services?
Oh, I can work with anybody because all my work is mostly on Zoom. So I'm able to work with people away or here or whatever. I rarely meet people in person. Yeah. And it's not because I don't want to meet people, but it's just because time is a big problem. Totally. And so when I'm in the middle of doing, I have that daily work with this meetings and sessions. Totally. And then I have 600-page manuscripts that need to be edited. Yeah. And that's I need to go into a cave and work on my own for 10 days by myself. Right. So it's hard to balance all of that and then also be out having lunch, or spending time. So I try to do it all online. But I will say, and this is important to say, that obviously this is a very personal experience when you get writing with somebody. Totally. And you're going to be telling me all your secrets, right? I know all the terrible things because we're going to write about it. So you're going to tell me all of it. So some people say to me, I really would love to meet you in person. Yeah. I just want to meet you and say I've been with you and get the vibe of you. Yeah. And those people, I understand that and I'm happy to meet. So it's not like I don't want to meet. Totally. But it's just sort of a big deal for me to get out of here and go and meet. Yeah. But I certainly do it because what's most important to me is that my clients are really at the utmost comfort level with me. So I want you to be comfortable with me. So that is why it's important that I will meet if people require that. But a lot of people get plenty on Zoom, Yeah. They get a sense of,
I hear that. And I can totally resonate with the time aspect, on my end, I do some audio editing and stuff like that. And that is super time consuming.
It is.
And
it is.
Sometimes even just making the 15-minute drive out and back to go to a lunch or a meeting. It just adds up really quickly.
It does. Absolutely. I'm totally with you.
Yeah. Taking things closer to Tucson, and you're based in Tucson, how do you feel the local community influences your work, and what role does community play in the writing process?
Well, that's a good question. I think, that's a multi-layered question.
It is a two-question question.
So I will say that the community is, I'll just say the Tucson community is very artistic, first of all.
Definitely.
So I love that. And I love that there are so many people who want to write. I just am so impressed with that.
Yeah.
And my partner has always teased me, even when she first met me, and I would say, you know, I'm a writing coach. She would just say, you know, that many people want to write a book. And I'm like, yeah, I can like fill up a book with it. You know, there are lots of people who want to write books. So this is a very natural place for it because people are very inspired by this environment.
Definitely.
And so people are really drawn to these mountains and this clear, beautiful blue sky and the sun. And it's just a very immersive experience being a Tucsonan. I do believe that.
Yeah.
I think in terms of how the community impacts or how community impacts writing, first of all, to me, writing a book is a really individual experience.
Yeah.
I think in the terms of the writing, like the retreat, community is so important, right? It's so important, community. And we hold each other up in community. And then of course, you know, just the writing of a book is great. And then you have people who read your book or readers who give you feedback on your book and things like that. So community is all around when it comes to writing. And, you know, people have to give their opinions and their feelings, their thoughts about it. But I think there's always, community, a need for community. But in terms of like coaching and that individual moment when you're jumping off of a cliff to write a book, which is so private and so just you and me. And in fact, you know, I have a newsletter, and this month's newsletter, the June newsletter, the headline, the head of it is just the three of us. And it's me, you, and your book. Right.
Nice. Yeah.
And so all of my, you know, and so this is kind of the message that I'm sending, that this is between you and I and these words. And it's just a private place and a safe space, which is really important, the safety of it. Definitely. And of course, it's so confidential. Like I've heard all the secrets in the world and I never shared them, obviously. So people, and I think the important thing about meeting me is people want to feel safe with me. Which is why I am willing to go if you want to meet, because it's important that you feel safe because you're going to tell me some big things.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes just so much sense to me when people are writing about such personal things, for sure. And like we kind of mentioned, it can be hard for a person alone in their studio to even say a thing.
Yes, you know? Exactly and right.
So having that ability to feel so safe and be able to express yourself is super duper important. Yeah. I guess shifting gears slightly, you know, what is a common misconception that people have about what you do?
Well, first of all, people hate regular people, and I say regular people not to discriminate, but there is a population of people who say, I hate writing. I hate writing. I've always hated writing. I hate it from 8th grade. I hate it. So that's one thing. So people just kind of are not, they're either highly impressed with what I do, or they're kind of don't understand why would anybody want to write. Right. Like there's people that is a population of people who just don't understand it.
Totally.
So that's one misconception, that it's not this horrible thing. Like writing is not a horrible thing. It's actually a freeing, liberating, a land of discovery for self-discovery. That's the thing about writing. People don't get that. So that's one thing. And I also think that maybe people think that it's too hard. And I think it's not too hard, especially since you have a coach. So that's what makes it, you know, it's a challenging thing to take on. I'm going to write a book, challenging. But I try to make it easy because we do it weekly. We meet every single week. I'm a part of your every day. I'm very much a part of your life. Like you've invited me into your life. I'm there. And I'm also there for you. So when you are stuck or don't know what to do or what we need to take a different direction. For example, I had a client and we're just working on his book now, and it's about his wife who passed away. And so we had a big plan to do it chronologically. And we were going to start with her as a young girl, and we were going to go all the way up to, 50 years old or 70 years old.
Yeah.
And then, he was writing and he was struggling, and I just was not getting anything out of what he was writing.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, I said, I have an idea. Let's get rid of the past stuff, because I think it's hard for you to conjure up.
Yeah.
And let's just start at the beginning of the illness. And he lit up like a Christmas tree, because it was just like, I was just dying for you to say that. So it's like, he didn't want to show me that he couldn't do it. Yeah. Yet the words were showing me that he couldn't do it, which was okay. Because it wasn't that he couldn't literally do it. Emotionally, he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's what is great about having a coach. A coach sees you, right?
Yeah.
You're seen. I see what you're doing. I see what you're having struggles with.
Yeah.
I see what's really easy for you to write about.
Yeah.
I see what makes you happy when you write about it. I know what makes you sad when you write about it.
Yeah.
And I'm here for all of those things.
Yeah.
So that is what people don't understand about a coach, is that they're really a companion.
Yeah.
I like to call it being a companion. I'm on this journey with you.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely. No, that's great. Sorry, I guess, I'm still just mulling and digesting this information. There's so much good stuff that we've been talking about, Kim, in terms of expression and nuance too. I mean, I can only imagine how you're able to see how people feel about the writing through that nuance, through the words that they use, how long their sentences are, how it's built up. So that's so interesting. And
also the repeaters, the people who write, they write an idea, but they write it 3 times in one series of sentences. And you've said the same thing 3 times. But I think I call that revving up. And that when people are just trying to get ready, they just stick with one idea, and they're just going to say the sentence 5 times. Yeah. So, we have fun. I mean, I have names and jokes about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And it's just safe. I just want people to really feel safe with me, because their story is in my heart. Once I've taken you on as a client, the story is in my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you take a very personal and thoughtful approach and good care of each of your clients in their process.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, we talked a little bit about, people feeling like they have something to say and feeling as though they are ready to start writing. And for some of those folks who are, they're checking these boxes and they're ready to start their writing journey, what advice would you offer to help them take the first step and then stay committed?
Well, I think they should hire me as a coach. But also I think there are a couple different structures to work with me, but I do have a 11-week first step where you kind of do it for 11 weeks. And what you do is you get a chance to learn some of the foundational things about writing.
Right.
And then we have 6 weeks that it's one-on-ones, which is just you and me going over your chapters week after week after week after week. Yeah. So it gives you an experience of what it is to have a coach, the kind of feedback you're going to get, how you respond to the feedback, how you make revisions. All of this stuff comes up in this 11-week period. So in terms of your bigger question, I think what people need to do to stay committed is, first of all, have accountability.
Yeah.
Because the only way to get it done, if you're committed to getting it done, it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to, a lot of people say to me, well, and this is, I'll say this is financial. When people run out of money, they say, well, I'm just going to I'll write it on my own, and then I'll get back to you for the edit.
Right.
But it's and I always say to them, I understand the financials.
Totally.
If you're wise, you will say to me, can we work something out? I'm more willing to do it for less to get you to get it done than to just send you off. But if people say, I'm going to work on myself, I always know I'll never hear from them again. That's very important because they'll never be able to have the structure and that weekly commitment, a weekly commitment.
Yeah.
It's too easy to say, oh, I have a golf game, right? I'm not going to do it.
100%.
But if you're paying for somebody to pay full attention to you, they've read your chapter 3 times after you've sent it. Yeah. So I'm now ready to talk about it. in a real way and make sense of the characters and why they did what they did and why they didn't do what they should have done and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we really get into it. So even if it's a memoir, I question. Why did that happen? Why did you do that? Why did that happen? So I think you have somebody who is, like I said, a companion.
Yeah.
And so it's really about somebody who's really ready for this experience.
Yeah.
It's an experience, an intimate experience to get your book written.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It can be so hard in those times. Like, I mean, life comes at you so fast all the time. There's always things to do. And having that accountability is super important to getting these like creative projects done,
Right.
And I know we touched on that, but I think it's really great to just kind of reemphasize that for sure. So for folks right now, they're listening to this conversation. They want to get in touch with you. They want to learn more about Blank Page Consulting, hear more of your insights. Where can folks go?
They can go to blankpageconsult.com.
Okay.
So that's my website. And if you're wanting to go to the retreat, you can also go there. And on my website, there is a tab that says retreat, and that has all the information there. And I love people wanting to contact me. They're welcome to contact me. My phone number is all over the website and it's on the contact page.
Yeah.
And I'm very open to talking to people about what they're writing and what they're thinking. And I have a 90-minute session that costs a little bit. It's sort of a nominal fee, but it allows us to do like a mini coaching session. So you call me with your idea. This is what I'm thinking. And then we do 90 minutes where I am coaching you and I'm asking you questions and we're like digging deep into it.
Yeah.
We walk away with an idea, a plot, a thesis, an idea, we go there.
Yeah.
And that's just to get people to really say, this is a real thing. I can do it. This idea that I had, which was flowing around in my head, it's real. She just made it real. Sign me up. I'm ready, because people are scared of their ideas. Creativity is a very scary thing, right? Because everything's possible.
Yeah.
And we live in a world where we have boxes around us all the time.
Definitely.
But creativity is a place there's no boxes. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So when people say, I have an idea, and then I can like hone it in and make it something tangible, that's the purpose of it's called a discovery call. And people can also sign up to have a discovery call and schedule that.
Perfect. And folks, we will have links to Blank Page Consulting and Kim's contacts in the episode notes. So if you're interested in getting in contact, go ahead, check out those episode notes and they'll be right there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's so interesting. A phrase came to mind where when you were talking about all these boxes around us and how scary creativity could be, when it's so freeing, is just like the sort of emotional agoraphobia.
Yes.
It's just
exactly right.
Space is too wide. It's too big.
Right. It's too much to do. Too many possibilities, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, folks, if you're feeling like you're getting emotional or creative agoraphobia, call Kim.
Yes, I can help you. I can help you.
So we talked about your Right to Heal retreat. That's coming up in October.
Yes.
Do you have any other events, workshops, anything going on in the near future that people should keep an eye out for?
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that. And it's sort of a little premature, but I am going to start doing what I'm calling the Unstuck series.
Nice.
And people can get unstuck in one day. So it's kind of like a Right to Heal in one day.
Okay.
And I'm going to do 4 of those next year, and they're very targeted. So one will be about body image, for example.
Nice.
And we'll spend a whole day on writing about your body image. And then we'll have somebody who is going to be an expert.
Yeah.
So there will be a little bit of somebody there to kind of help us with body image, if that's what we're talking about. There will be one on relationships, for example. Yeah. And so all of these seminars really are just small, intimate gatherings of just people using their journals, working with the prompts, answering the questions, feeling what they feel, getting ready to start moving. It's really about movement, forward movement.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the Unstuck in a Day series, which is
Nice.
coming up next year. So it'll be 4 of them, and it'll be quarterly, and it'll be next year, starting in January.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
exciting.
coming up. Yeah.
And for the folks who want to stay appraised to that information and when those events are happening, those will be on your socials and website?
Yes, and on my website, there's a way that you can sign up to be on my newsletter list.
Perfect.
And the newsletter is something that comes out every single month, the first of every month, and it gives you exactly what's going on.
Perfect. So folks, go ahead and check out those episode notes, get in contact with Kim, and stay up to date with the awesome things that she has going on. Kim, it's been really awesome talking to you today. Thank you again so much for your time. I really appreciate it. But before I can let you go, I have to ask you one question that I ask everybody who walks through these proverbial doors.
Okay.
What is one thing out of the many that you love about Tucson?
I would say that there's 2 things, but I'm going to say the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just inspire me, and they make me feel happy to live here.
Yeah.
And I think it's very hard to, I mean, I lived in New York City. I should have been feeling every day that I'm happy to live there. And I did for most of my life there.
Yeah.
But this is a place that really makes me feel great gratitude to just be in the midst of so much beauty.
Seriously, there is a silent majesty and strength with those mountains. And I can totally hear that. I love them as well. And I think I can just stare at the Catalinas for hours.
Me too.
Just sit there on the bench and just keep looking. Yeah.
They almost had to drag me out of my house when we were buying it.
Yeah.
They were showing it, and then I was sat down in the back, and this is a beautiful view.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't leave. And the realtor was like, "We have to go." And I'm like, "No, I'm staying here. I have to sit here. I'm transfixed by this mountain view." And they teased me about it because I just couldn't get up from the place.
Yeah.
So it's immersive to live here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You were like, this is my house.
Yes, exactly right. Correct. Yes.
That's awesome. Well, Kim, thank you again so much for talking about Blank Page Consulting, your experiences, how you help people unearth their personalities and get that freedom of expression. I'm reading one of your books right now. Folks, if you want to hear more of Kim and I's conversations, we're going to be talking on Connor Reed's books. We have plenty more things to talk about. So thank you, Kim, for this first installment. And I look forward to talking to you. You are welcome.
I appreciate this so much, Connor, and I love talking to you. So this has been great fun, and I can't wait to do the reading one, because then the book is a topic and we'll have lots to talk about with that.
Absolutely. I got my highlighter out. I got my pen out. I'm making notes.
I love it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Connor.
Thank you. And take care, folks.
And that's a wrap for another episode of T. Lokes, your go-to podcast for uncovering the untold stories of Tucson's local businesses and nonprofits. A big thank you to our incredible listeners for joining us on this journey of connection and discovery.
I want to give a huge thank you to Kim Green from Blank Page Consulting for coming on the show today and having this great conversation with us about how she inspires self-reflection and self-expression for those who need help finding the words. So thank you, Kim, so much again, and thank you for turning me on to Sade. I've been listening to that for days now. So yeah, folks, go ahead and check out Kim Green's links in the episode notes.
A big thank you to Louis Sanders from Soundmonk Studios for composing the awesome T. Lokes theme music. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected with Tucson's vibrant business scene, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback is invaluable, and it helps us continue bringing you engaging conversations. As we wrap up, remember that T. Lokes isn't just a podcast, it's a community. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or our Discord channel and share your thoughts, suggestions, or even recommend a local business or nonprofit you'd like to see featured on the show. Thank you once again for being a part of the T. Lokes community. Until next time, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep supporting the heartbeat of Tucson. Toodaloo.